In 1932, Reverend and Mrs. H. Williamson were commissioned by Dr. C. A. Gibson, district superintendent, to hold a tent meeting in Bucyrus in August of 1932. The meeting continued until sometime in late September. Reverend E. C. Gamage was sent by the district superintendent to continue the work. He started a Sunday school in a store building on North Poplar Street. The difficulties and discouragements that confronted Reverend Gamage seemed insurmountable at the time, but he met each one with determination. At one point, Dr. Gibson suggested that the work be closed. In February of 1933, Reverend and Mrs. C. C. Bush conducted a revival meeting. Shortly thereafter, Reverend Harry Fagan, a blind evangelist, held a 6-week revival with some solid results. Following that meeting, Dr. C. A. Gibson organized the Church of the Nazarene in Bucyrus, Ohio on April 12, 1933. The charter closed with 31 members. During the summer of 1934, an old house at the corner of East Warren and Iron Street was purchased from the Allmiller estate. The old house was replaced by a small but beautiful brick structure measuring 38 by 40 feet. Many victories were won as the faithful lingered before the mercy seat. In February of 1935, Reverend Gamage accepted a call to the Church of the Nazarene in Tiffin, Ohio. To this day, there are people of the congregation who look favorably on the day of this faithful pastor. Reverend H.T. Stimmel served the church faithfully during these years. Brother Stimmel's leadership resulted in growth numerically and financially. In the month of September in 1938, Reverend L.L. Zimmerman moved to Bucyrus from Kenton, Ohio. By this time, the church had reached a membership of 65, and the Sunday school average was 60. Continued growth created a need for larger facilities, and for a time, a tent was used beside the church as a temporary measure. But after much prayer and sincerely seeking the will of God, the small church and tent were replaced by a comfortable sanctuary and a Sunday school facility. Reverend Kenneth L. Coyle came to Bucyrus from the Elm Street Church of the Nazarene in Ironton, Ohio. The congregation here in Bucyrus had grown, and the growth pattern created a need for an additional annex. Reverend Coyle drew the plans for the 2 1/2 story, 30 by 70 foot structure. Much of the work was done with donated labor from the congregation. The annex was appropriately named the John Q. Shunk Annex. Some of the church furniture still in use today was made by Pastor Coyle. An example is the communion table in the chapel. In 1974, the congregation purchased 6 acres of land just south of the city on State Route 4. 4 more acres were added later. The groundbreaking ceremony for this sanctuary and building was held on June 28, 1977. Construction began soon after that. The new building was dedicated on Sunday, December 10, 1978. As the church continued to grow, a new family center with a gymnasium along with new classrooms was added in 1990. Also, 4 more acres of property were purchased for future expansion. That future expansion began in 2010 as the church yet again needed room to grow, and in September of 2013, the new sanctuary and grand foyer, along with the cafe, welcomed those seeking God.